Most of us waste the first 2 hours of the day on autopilot. Change just 5 small habits for a week and those 2 hours stop being automatic. They start building energy, focus, and tiny wins instead. You stare at your phone and time slips away. Swap a morning scroll for a 10-minute walk, turn off non-essential notifications during work blocks, swap your second coffee for water, prep a simple breakfast the night before, and write one clear priority. Those specific swaps create a chain. Better sleep, fewer distracted afternoons, steadier mood, and more tasks actually finished. Change feels small at first. 1 week is enough to notice concrete shifts. Falling asleep 10 minutes faster, gaining an extra focused hour, skipping one impulsive snack each day. You might be skeptical. Habits are hard and results slow. A focused 7-day test gives real before and after signals: morning energy, mid-afternoon focus, number of finished tasks, and how tense your evenings are, so you stop guessing and start measuring what actually helps. In 7 days, you won't be a new person. You'll have proof that tiny, specific changes move the needle, and that makes the next choice a lot easier. Choosing which habits to tweak. Mornings feel rushed for most people, and that first hour shapes decisions for the rest of the day. When the first action is mindless scrolling, choices later become crisper or muddier depending on that initial cue. Pick habits that intervene early in a day because they cascade. Swapping the immediate phone check for a glass of water and a quick stretch often settles breathing and attention. That simple swap reduces the chance of reactive choices later, like reaching for the nearest snack or skipping a planned task. Changing a habit that doesn't connect to what matters usually fails. People tend to keep behaviors that align with their goals, even if the change starts small. If better sleep is the priority, tweaking evening screen exposure and caffeine habits matters more than starting an intense late-night workout. The effect is straightforward. When the habit supports a clear goal, motivation follows and consistency becomes easier. Your surroundings nudge you several times an hour, and those nudges are hard to ignore. Visual cues, smells, and reachable objects trigger routines without conscious thought. Moving the cereal box out of sight makes reaching for fruit more likely, and having running shoes visible by the door raises the chance of stepping outside instead of changing into TV clothes. When the environment lowers the effort for the desired action happens more often. Lack of feedback hides whether a tweak works or not, and that uncertainty kills momentum. Small, observable signals help. Noticing steadier energy through the afternoon after cutting late caffeine, or sleeping more soundly after dimming lights before bed. These concrete signs create a loop. You see the benefit, which prompts repetition, which then strengthens the habit. Other people shape choices in subtle ways, and social context can either sabotage or support change. Office snack culture pushes communal pastries into hands, while a partner's evening routine sets the household tempo. Choosing tweaks that fit into daily social rhythms, like swapping one shared dessert for a fruit plate or agreeing on a quiet hour before bed, shifts group patterns and makes the new habit less of an uphill battle. The first 2 days, friction and awareness. At first it feels like everything takes more effort than before. Shifting 5 habits at once makes tiny decisions pile up. The alarm goes off and you remember you asked yourself to skip the phone, but the habit tugs so hard that your hand still reaches for it. Putting a glass of water on the nightstand instead of your phone is one small change. Yet the mismatch between intention and muscle memory creates friction that shows up as slow movements and a brief fog. That friction isn't just annoyance. It's the brain flagging that familiar cues no longer match the expected sequence, so extra attention is required. You suddenly notice how many invisible prompts steer your day. A cereal box on the counter, the smell of coffee drifting from the next room, the notification badge on an app. Those are the cues that used to do the work without you thinking. When you try to swap oatmeal for cereal, the sight of the bright box triggers the old pour and eat loop, and you have to pause. That pause is awareness in action. You feel the pull of habit and become conscious of the exact moment the automatic behavior would have started. Early awareness often surfaces as small tactical problems you didn't anticipate. Shoes left by the door are an easy fix for a morning run, but you may forget to set them there until after the first sluggish morning. Turning off notifications to eat dinner without your phone nearby sounds good, yet the first evening you find yourself reflexively checking the screen because the sound was never silenced, which creates a new little scramble. Those mismatches explain why people say the first 2 days are the hardest. Actions bump against long-standing context cues and require more deliberate steps. Emotion rides along with the cognitive upheaval. There can be surprise and a little shame when you slip back into an old pattern, and then a tiny lift when you catch it mid-action. That sequence, friction, awareness, correction, feels noisy at first but teaches you which cues are strongest. Noticing that your hands reach for the phone before coffee, or that hunger hits harder when TV is on, gives concrete information about where to smooth things out. The awkwardness tends to settle as the nervous system adapts, and those first awkward 48 hours end up mapping exactly what needs the most support. Midweek adjustment, small wins and setbacks. Midweek often brings a dip in energy and focus for people trying new routines. After a couple of mornings of waking up earlier and saying no to the office donut, cognitive resources feel thinner and decisions get harder, which researchers describe as decision fatigue. That fatigue shows up in concrete ways: more impulsive snack choices between meetings, longer email chains, and postponed workouts. Because effort accumulates across days, the choices you made Monday and Tuesday directly shape how Wednesday feels. A small victory on Wednesday has outsized effects. Finishing a 10-minute walk before lunch lifts mood and makes the afternoon meeting easier to sit through. For example, someone who swaps a sugary afternoon snack for a piece of fruit and a short stroll often reports fewer cravings later, and that reduced craving leads to a simpler dinner choice. Positive feedback loops matter here. One completed habit lowers resistance to the next. Setbacks also multiply quickly. Missing sleep the night before, whether from late work or an interrupted household routine, tends to increase hunger for high-calorie foods and reduce patience for exercise. An evening lost to unexpected overtime can mean the planned grocery prep never happens, and the next meal becomes whatever's quickest, which then makes momentum harder to regain. Small disruptions cascade because the brain prefers the path of least resistance when its resources are low. Midweek adjustments are often practical and small rather than dramatic. People commonly shorten a planned workout and still get the benefit by doing 15 minutes of bodyweight moves at home, or they salvage meal choices by assembling a quick salad from leftovers instead of ordering takeout. Those micro-adjustments prevent an all-nothing slide. A recovered habit on Wednesday increases the chance that habits stick into the weekend. Observing what broke and why, a late call, an extra meeting, or depleted sleep, makes the next tweak more precise and easier to maintain. Social and environmental ripples. Disposable coffee cups are often lined with plastic and can't be recycled in most curbside programs, and people still notice when someone pulls a reusable mug out of their bag. It becomes a social cue. Colleagues ask where you got it, then someone else brings theirs the next day, and soon the meeting table is less dotted with single-use cups. That visible swap nudges the office culture toward reuse because behaviors are contagious in close groups. Small, repeated signals shape what people think is normal. Bringing a salad in a glass container instead of ordering takeout creates a ripple at the food vendor level. Vendors stock what customers buy, so a few regulars skipping plastic containers leads nearby shops to reduce single-use packaging or offer discounts for bring-your-own containers. One person packing lunch 3 days in a row can prompt a corner deli to try compostable bowls, or to advertise a bulk salad option that customers can fill with their own containers. Business responses follow sales patterns, and changes in demand rewire the supply chain even on a neighborhood scale. Starting to separate food scraps at home puts a tiny black bin on the counter and sparks conversations with neighbors at the trash room or the mailbox. That visible shift encourages others to ask about composting and where to drop off scraps, and participation often spreads through these informal exchanges. When a block of households begins composting, local community gardens get more nutrient-rich material and may expand planting or volunteer hours. The result is a small but tangible local improvement in soil health and community engagement. Choosing to walk or cycle for short errands instead of driving makes the street sound different and people notice. Fewer cars idling at the curb reduces noise and the heat island effect in dense neighborhoods, and parents feel safer letting children play in quieter spaces. That change encourages more window-to-window greetings and a little more foot traffic for small shops, which adjust opening hours or stocking to serve passerby customers. Shifts in how people move reshape the rhythm of a block in ways that influence both social interaction and environmental conditions. Mental and physical shifts. Measured observations. Mornings feel less frantic after a week of small, consistent changes. When you cut down the number of decisions you have to make right away, pick clothes the night before, have a predictable breakfast, and postpone email, your brain spends less energy on trivial choices, and attention holds better for the tasks that matter. A reduced decision load makes it easier to focus. For example, people who limit morning phone checking often report completing their first important task without the usual cascade of interruptions. By midweek, your afternoons stop collapsing into fog. Better sleep timing and a little movement shift how alertness waxes and wanes, so that the slump after lunch becomes milder and easier to manage. That steadier energy comes from more regulated blood sugar and clearer circadian cues. One concrete sign is needing fewer caffeine top-ups. Another is being able to think through a complex email without rereading it 3 times. Your body gives fast, observable feedback when habits change. Small, consistent moves like standing breaks, extra water, or a short walk after a meal improve digestion and reduce bloating, and they also tend to lower resting agitation. People often notice their heart feels calmer, especially when checked at rest. These shifts happen because circulation and autonomic balance respond quickly to activity and hydration, and because steadier meals blunt sharp blood sugar swings. A simple example: swapping an afternoon candy bar for a protein-rich snack usually results in fewer sudden energy crashes and steadier mood for the rest of the day. Mood and motivation shift in ways that feel subtle but measurable. When daily tiny wins pile up, a completed list item, a coherent conversation, consistent sleep, anxiety episodes often shorten and confidence slowly rebuilds, which shows up in fewer negative thoughts recorded in a mood journal. Neurochemically, brief exercise and sunlight exposure increase neurotransmitters linked to positive effect, and that creates a feedback loop where feeling better makes it easier to keep the new habits going. Practically, someone who journals 2 minutes each morning and texts one supportive friend during the week will often report clearer priorities and less reactivity in tense conversations. What 1 week predicts about long-term change? That awkward, clingy feeling in the first few days often signals more than temporary resistance. Behavioral scientists treat the first week as a diagnostic window because it reveals whether a habit is actually feasible in your real life. Short. When 5 small habits are changed at once, the first 7 days show which ones collide with existing routines and which fit naturally, and those early collisions predict whether you'll keep them months down the line. For example, trying to add a morning run, an evening no-sugar rule, and a nightly wind-down ritual at the same time will quickly expose time conflicts. If the kid's schedule or commute consistently wipes out your mornings, the run struggles to survive. The cause and effect is simple. If a habit demands constant negotiation or friction in week 1, it consumes willpower and becomes fragile later. It's awkward when plans meet the real world. Short. A 1-week trial shows whether the cues you counted on actually appear when you need them, and that determines habit persistence. Imagine someone who plans to drink water instead of soda and puts a bottle on the desk. In week 1, they'll notice whether colleagues keep bringing snacks, whether meetings push them to vending machines, or whether the bottle is genuinely accessible, all real constraints that predict long-term success. When context supports the cue, the behavior repeats. When context undermines it, the behavior dies unless the environment changes. There's a social test that arrives within 72 hours. Short. How friends, partners, and co-workers respond during the first week creates either momentum or resistance, and that social feedback loops straight into whether a change sticks. Think of a person who gives up evening TV and finds their partner turns on the show every night. If that friction isn't addressed, the new routine is unlikely to last. Conversely, if a friend joins your midday walks during week 1, the shared commitment increases the odds you'll keep walking. Social pressure matters because it alters the immediate rewards and punishments tied to the habit, and those immediate consequences guide future choices. You can feel small wins right away, and those matter more than people expect. Short. Early measurable progress, like 3 out of 7 days of consistent sleep schedule or hitting step goals on almost every weekday, raises confidence and reduces the cognitive load of deciding to continue, which predicts longer-term maintenance. For instance, someone who tracks meals for a week and finds they can prep lunches ahead of time will likely keep prepping because the effort paid off in convenience and fewer cravings. The inverse is true when tracking shows constant failure and no practical benefit. A single week won't guarantee lifelong change, but it gives a clear map of barriers, supports, and emotional reactions that reliably forecast whether 5 new habits will become part of your daily life. Ever catch yourself thinking tiny changes won't matter? When we swap just 5 small habits for a week, drinking a full glass of water first thing, taking a 10-minute walk, keeping the phone out of the morning routine, prepping one simple meal, and going to bed 30 minutes earlier, the week shifted in concrete ways. Mornings felt calmer, energy stretched into the afternoon, meals became fewer rushed decisions, and nights were less restless. That's the direct takeaway. It's normal to be skeptical. But in practice, those swaps produced clear cause and effect. Swapping coffee for water smoothed the mid-afternoon crash and made a 3 p.m. focus session feel possible. The short walk broke the post-lunch slump and turned a tired hour into productive work. And one prepared meal cut the evening guessing game so stress dropped and sleep came easier. Small inputs led to visible outputs. Starting feels awkward. If this landed for you, trying one of the 5 for a week is a simple way to see what changes in your own life. A quick note about which habit you'd pick helps others know what to try too, and a like or share quietly connects this experiment with someone who might be stuck in the same rut. No pressure, just another small test. Wondering what comes next? We'll follow up by testing which single habit sticks over a full month and by running the same 5-habit week with different people, a parent, a student, and someone on night shifts, so you can see how these swaps play out in real schedules. Thanks for watching, and first I'll see you in the next experiment.